Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. The American Meteorological Society has issued a special statement. They say climate change is a risk to all life on Earth. They blame the United States for climate change and specifically the United States Supreme Court. And they say climate change is a highly solvable problem. When they use the word climate change, what they're actually referring to is fossil fuels. Decades of propaganda and conditioning has caused many people to transparently associate climate change as meaning the burning of fossil fuels. Let's look first at their claim that climate change threatens all life. Death rates from all types of natural disasters around the world are down 95% over the last century. This includes all meteorological and climate events, drought, wildfires, storms, and flooding. And at the same time, as carbon dioxide levels have increased in the atmosphere, life expectancy around the world has nearly doubled. All indications are that the widespread distribution of fossil fuels over the past century has greatly benefited the human race. Access to air conditioning and indoor heating has greatly improved the life of billions of people around the world. It's summer now, and there's lots of propaganda being dispensed about heat waves. The story is that climate change, or the burning of fossil fuels, is making heat waves worse. But the official U.S. government National Climate Assessment shows something completely different. Heat waves were much worse in the United States prior to 60 years ago than they have been over the past 60 years. The climate of the 1930s was pretty awful, and you'd think the American Meteorological Society would be aware of that. Let's take a look at the history of this propaganda. 9 years ago, Barack Obama tweeted, 97% of scientists agree. Climate change is real, man-made, and dangerous. But a survey done that year by the American Meteorological Society of their professional members showed something entirely different. Only about one-half of their professional members agreed that global warming was primarily caused by humans. And they weren't even asked if global warming is dangerous. So where did Barack Obama get his fake statistics from? The claims he made had no bearing on reality. Mark Twain said there's lies, damned lies, in statistics. And it's also clear that this statement from the American Meteorological Society does not represent the opinion of their members. This is a political statement made by political appointees under the guise of pretending to be scientific. Now let's look at their claim climate change is a highly solvable problem. Sri Lanka went green under the direction of the World Economic Forum, and now Sri Lanka is bankrupt and running out of fuel and food. Germany went green, and now they're suffering severe energy poverty. France went green, and now they're turning the lights off and purchasing Russian oil. Governments have made dozens of so-called climate agreements over the last 30 years, and none of them have had any impact on the growth of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Joe Biden says his 1987 bill was a game changer for climate.
And by the way, in case you want my bona fides, you can check PolitiFacts. I introduced the first climate change bill in 1987, say it was a game changer.
But as you can see from this chart of atmospheric carbon dioxide, Joe Biden's 1987 bill accomplished absolutely nothing. What they have succeeded in doing, however, is making energy unaffordable for the poor and middle class. What kills people is not global warming, but rather a lack of fossil fuels, a lack of air conditioning, and a lack of heat. Like the summer of 1911, when thousands of people in New England died from the heat, and more than 40,000 people in Paris died from the heat. France is once again facing a heat wave, but this time they don't have enough electricity because of decisions made by their leaders. This AMS statement blamed their imaginary destruction of life on Earth on the United States and the United States Supreme Court. But even Joe Biden is aware of the fact that in the big picture of the world, the United States is a minor emitter of greenhouse gases.
So your forests are still going to find insects that are eating the evergreens in the summer. Your summers are going to get hotter. Your winters are going to get warmer. You're going to see pollution in your water supplies. You're going to see the shore lapping up and taking out land where people are living, etc. 85% of the problem is over there in the rest of the world. So it requires someone who knows how to bring together the world. Not a joke.
Joe Biden knows that if you want to limit carbon dioxide emissions, you have to start with China. He made a deal with China last November, which they immediately ignored and continued to increase their coal usage. China is having a coal mining boom, and they've greatly increased their purchases of Russian oil. Everything in this political statement from the management of the American Meteorological Society is nonsense. Blaming bad weather on the United States Supreme Court is beyond the pale of absurdity. But there's a clue in this sentence as to what the American Meteorological Society management is up to. Climate change is a highly solvable problem, and the available solutions offer tremendous opportunity. What this means is that there's billions and billions of dollars at stake for people who are willing to perpetuate this scam. During the 16th century, it was witches who were blamed for bad weather. Tens of thousands of people were burned to death in Europe under the premise that they were cooking the weather. But the human race has advanced a long way since then. We no longer blame witches for bad weather. We now blame individual members of the Supreme Court. The difference was that in the 16th century, nobody was ridiculous enough to claim that witches threatened all life on Earth. Toto has been pulling back the curtain on these fraudsters for the past 14 years. You can visit him, Kyrie Caesar, Toki, and Upala on the web at realclimatescience.com.